Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on your geography and time zone. My name is Rob Roop. I am the Director of Sales and Service Cloud Alliances for EMEA from Salesforce. And we're kicking off a 7-week webinar series to help you obtain your Service Cloud Consultant certification. So, what is the Service Cloud certification in this workshop? Our goal is to help you prepare for this as quickly and as efficiently as possible. You will be learning hands-on primarily via Trailhead and also through the chatter group in addition to these webinars. There are also a number of presentations, video tutorials from the Premier Partner Training Catalog, some YouTube videos and other content that I'll share with you throughout the series. We'll have these weekly or almost weekly, just because there were some holidays and travel that kind of got in the way, webinars, and we'll wrap everything up with a Service Cloud certification exam that you will need to schedule on your own and take as appropriate. Okay, this webinar is being recorded, so as soon as the webinar wraps up, we'll convert the recording and upload links to the partner community. You'll also get a follow-up email from GoToWebinar with some of the details. But if you register for the webinar series, you'll get the follow-up email. And I'll show you where on the partner community you should go to look for the content as well a little bit later. So, Salesforce for Service. Why is the Service Cloud certification so important? So just a little bit of background. So today, there's just a lot going on for customers, and the reality is that customers avoid support as much as possible, but it's required when something goes wrong. So if you think of support as kind of a tax you have to pay for doing business as a consumer, but in some ways it's worse, right? Because it's a tax customers have to pay for engaging with the companies that they do business with. So what do? They avoid contacting companies. In fact, 81% of customers try self-service options before contacting support. I'm sure everyone on the webinar today has a similar experience about searching Google or YouTube or something to try to fix something without having to call. And the reason that customers do that is because getting support is painful, it's time consuming, and it's also very inconvenient. If you think about all of the repetitive questions that you've been asked while calling into a contact center, you kind of wonder, with all the technology available, shouldn't companies that you do business with know who you are already and really what your preferences are? So now let's look at the other end of the spectrum. Some of the most innovative and disruptive companies in the world are using service to completely transform their customers' experience. If you think about Uber, they really changed the taxi industry by using mobile technology to make it more convenient to get a ride. Some people now refer to them as the largest transportation company in the world, and they don't actually own any vehicles. Intuit has embedded a live video right into their TurboTax application. This is an American company that helps consumers file their yearly income tax statement with the U.S. government. And it's a complex process, but with this application from Salesforce, any customer can get help preparing their taxes with the push of a button. They made service a part of the customer experience. And I would encourage anybody who has the time or the inclination to go on YouTube and to search TurboTax, and you'll find some funny advertising videos about how they're using Service Cloud SOS to provide this in-app support for their customers. And then finally, there's NCR, what used to be known as National Cash Register. It's a point of sale company. A lot of small family-owned businesses and shops depend on them to provide the kind of like the payment processing system for their business. You may not have heard of them, but they've really changed the way that they're delivering service to their customers, and they're using messaging to do that. So if you think that if you're a small business, a small shop owner, and you're quite busy, you don't want to spend a lot of time on the phone getting support and service. And they have been using Live Message, a product from Salesforce that uses SMS text to deliver service and support. And they have found that with that, they're able to satisfy customers more easily and more quickly, and also with less expense. So we know that delivering service is hard. A great and memorable customer experience is difficult because the tools and systems that customer service agents have to use are typically built for transactions. Right? They're not convenient, and they don't really support customer conversations. A lot of times I've worked with customers, and they're trying to provide customer service and support from an invoicing system, an order management system, or a sort of ERP. And it's really good for tracking where a product is or where an order is, but not necessarily for resolving customer service issues. So every time a customer contacts a company for support, their agents have to use these non-intuitive tools and search for answers in different systems. Sometimes the information they get between the systems might even disagree, or it might not be consistent because they're not synchronized. So this costs time and money, and more importantly, it increases customer frustration, who might have to wait on hold, be transferred, or get inconsistent answers to their questions. That's why we're so excited about what the power and promise of intelligence and of the Service Cloud. So not only are the most innovative companies taking advantage of new digital channels for support, but all of these channels are efficient because they can be enhanced and powered by intelligence. We can take advantage of natural language processing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to empower agents with insight and information they need to deliver a convenient, more conversational experience to customers across any channel. So with the Service Cloud, we're combining the channels along with the user interface that agents are using and our open APIs to connect all of the different disparate systems together to provide a seamless experience for our customers. The Service Cloud is the world's first intelligent customer service platform, but it's much more than an application or a collection of applications. Because the Service Cloud is built on the Salesforce platform, we make it possible to personalize every service conversation. We help agents, managers, and mobile workers to be more productive. We help to make customer service agents smarter and customers happy with artificial intelligence. All of this is accomplished with our connected intelligent service platform. It's all built on the Salesforce Customer Success Platform, which allows you to put customers at the center of your business. With Salesforce for Service, you can deliver intelligent service conversations across every channel, from high-touch conversations, face-to-face conversations with field service technicians or on-site sales support, to low-touch or no-touch conversations, whether it's connected product through IoT, a service bot, a chat bot, or self-service. But when a company is using the Service Cloud and they have enabled all of these different touch points and different channels, each of these, when a customer enters a support process through one of these channels, they're easily supported as they move up or down the spectrum of touch, so that the conversations are seamless. And if I switch from a chat bot to email to live agent or to phone, the agent who's responding to each of those can see the other conversations that have taken place, so the customer feels and knows that their concerns, their support issues have been taken seriously, and they don't have to repeat previous conversations. With Service Cloud, we work with companies across every industry and across every company size, from single users to hundreds of thousands of users. And one of the things that all of these customers have in common is a 100% focus on their customers and what our customers are accomplishing. And it's really, amazing when we look at these numbers. These are average numbers, right? So we survey our customers several times a year and collect their results. And they've told us that they typically see a 22% decrease in support costs. So, 1 out of every 5 agents, right? It's a really significant improvement in terms of productivity. We see big improvements in customer retention, 26%. 28% improvements in agent productivity, faster case resolution. But then the one thing that all companies are really concerned about is customer satisfaction. A 35% increase in customer satisfaction on average from customers who have deployed the Service Cloud. Not only are customers telling us that the Service Cloud is helping them to unlock new potential within their organizations, but number of analyst organizations. These are the type of organizations that your customers rely on to help them make decisions. We're also saying similar things about the Service Cloud. And we're waiting for the new Gartner Magic Quadrant results to come out. But as you can see, that for the past 9 years, the Service Cloud has been a leader in customer engagement. So this is Salesforce way up here in the upper right-hand corner of the Magic Quadrant. And I just want to point out that, in terms of completeness of vision, this is another way of saying, describing the functionality that's included within the platform. So this includes all of the native channels that we support, artificial intelligence, access to the platform, and the ability to create and deliver innovative service and support using the platform. And then on the left, ability to execute. Another way of thinking about this is, how many users are actually have adopted Salesforce and the Service Cloud platform. And for market share in terms of adoption and users, we're also number 1, which takes us to being leaders in the Magic Quadrant. And this is also a great example of why you're actually working to get your Service Cloud certification. Through that Service Cloud certification, our customers will know that they can depend on you to help them deliver useful solutions to their customer service issues, leveraging all of the technology that we deliver with high adoption. So your success in delivering that helps our customers to be successful in their customer customer service delivery strategies. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the path to certification, what you need to do over the next several weeks in order to successfully pass the Service Cloud certification exam. So the Salesforce Certified Consultant Strategy, we have in order to participate, you have to have the Salesforce Admin 201. You can't register for the Service Cloud certification if you don't have the Salesforce Admin as a prerequisite. So that's one reason why we asked if you had the admin prerequisite when you registered for the course. I put together a trail mix on Trailhead that will help you with the hands-on portion of the work to really kind of get to get some experience configuring and deploying the functionality for the Service Cloud. And this sort of self-paced study will probably take you about 14 hours. Your mileage may vary. You might have done a lot of the Trailhead modules already. It might just take you a little longer to do some of the Trailhead modules if you aren't as familiar with the functionality. There might be a particular challenge or a project within the modules that gives you a challenge that takes a little bit more time, but you kind of expect that. I'll show you how to access the chatter group, and then you'll just want to make sure that you've completed whatever outside work there is before the next webinar. Your organization might also have some strategy or some process in place to help kind of make sure that you're keeping up with the work so that you're ready for the certification exam. So once we get through the 6 webinars on kind of background, we'll have a final webinar to really sort of help you prepare for the exams and study strategies, that sort of thing. And then you'll take your Service Cloud certification. And of course, you can continue to get support for anything Service Cloud related through the partner community and a couple of different Service Cloud oriented chatter groups that are available there. So this is kind of what the schedule looks like for the next 6 weeks. We're at week 1 now, kickoff and industry trends. You can see that we're going to cover Service Cloud Console, case management, telephony or CTI and self-service, knowledge and knowledge-centered service, live agent, social, so other contact center channels and analytics. And then in week 7, we'll wrap up with a brief discussion around APIs, snap-ins, and then certification prep strategies. So as I mentioned before, Trailhead is going to be our primary method for sharing and collaborating throughout the series. I'll show you the chatter group. There was a link to it in the email that you received, so hopefully you've joined that chatter group already, but we'll look at that in a minute. You access the partner community. If you can't access the partner community or you're unable to, I cannot resolve that for you. You need to either work through the delegated admin in your partner organization to get access or to open a case with Salesforce support to access the partner community. Accessing the partner community will also give you access to some other online training and sales aids that are offered through Salesforce University that you might find useful. Through the partner community, it's also kind of easiest to access Trailhead, although you don't have to go through the community to access Trailhead. But if you haven't, you should sign up for Trailhead by logging into the community, select education. You'll also need to create a developer edition org and make sure that developer edition org gets connected to your Trailhead profile so that the badges that so that the work that you complete, the hands-on work, can be checked by Trailhead to make sure that you are progressing through the modules correctly. And you might want to, if you're new to Trailhead, check out some of the getting started on Trailhead, see the partner learning path and some other things there to kind of help you navigate that going into the future. So there is some additional content that you might want to access if you're somewhat new to the Salesforce ecosystem and to Service Cloud in particular. These links will take you to these sort of libraries of additional information, education specifically for consultants, the partner chatter groups related to certification, a link to preparing for the certified Service Cloud Consultant exam, and then the Service Cloud Consultant study guide. So these are all just different documents that you might want to review. The important ones are linked individually in the chatter group. So as soon as we get off the call here, if you haven't yet, I would encourage you to go and log into the partner community and join the chatter group, get your Salesforce development org. Find and start the Trail Mix, the Service Cloud Partner FastPath. I'll show you how to navigate to this in a minute. Make sure that you can access additional reference material that's linked here. And then, of course, share your progress and ask any questions and collaborate through the chatter group. All right. I'm just going to go over and show you how to access the information. All right, so this is the partner community. All right, partners.salesforce.com is the URL that you need to go to log in. Here you'll see home, collaboration, education, etc. So the first thing we want to do is go to collaboration. This is where the chatter groups are and where you can see your feed within the chatter groups. So you can go to groups and then search active groups. But what you want to look for is the EMEA Service Cloud Certification Chatter Group. Right? I see that there are so far only 32 members. We have 88 people on the call here, more than 100 registered for the webinar series. So you do want to go in here because honestly, with that many people, you can send me an email. I'm not going to be able to respond, right? So use the chatter group so that I can communicate at scale with everyone who's participating. And it also means that I only have to answer a question once rather than 10, 20, or 30 times. If you have a question, come here. You can do a quick search to see if anyone else has asked the question or if anyone else has answered the question, right? And you can kind of post any questions or concerns that you might have there. As you can see on the left, you can access links to the other webinars in the series. You can access the certification trail mix, which I'll show you in a minute. And then there are links to the content that I'm going to be sharing over here. So if you want to, you're welcome to read ahead. I'll also be putting links to the webinar recordings here in the chatter group as well. All right, so again, just to remind you, I can't respond to the volume of emails, right, that you might get, like, hey, where's the recording? Can you share the recording? All that's going to be done through the chatter group. So if you want to access that, you have to join the chatter group. I can't give you access to the partner community. You have to request that yourself or go through your organization's admin to be added to the partner community. All right. I also want to take you to Trailhead, right? So this is Trailhead home. Hopefully, everybody who's on the call is already a member and using Trailhead, and hopefully you are well on your way to Ranger status, 100 badges. If not, this experience will certainly get you closer. And so this link over here to the Trail Mix. Yep, Service Cloud Certification Trail Mix. If you take that, it'll take you here to the Service Cloud Partner FastPath Trail Mix. So this is a trail mix that I put together specifically to help you get through your certification. And you can see that there are links to the documentation that I'm sharing here. As well as to the appropriate modules, badges, or trails within Trailhead that you should complete. So the Service Cloud Platform Quick Look, so this is how to get familiar with Service Cloud Basics, right? And it's arranged by week. So we're just now doing week 1 introduction. You'll want to go through and complete those 3 modules before week 2. When we go into the Service Cloud console. Of course, you're welcome to work ahead if you want to, but then you can see, it's everything's laid out in terms of weeks. There are links to the presentations that I'm sharing, as well as to the modules, and there are a couple of things in here. Let me get to one. Where the content in Trailhead maybe isn't quite where I think it should be to support you for your Service Cloud certification prep. So when that's the case, like for social customer service, I've provided a link to a social customer service demo, and then the complete guide to social customer service, right? To really sort of help you on through the next little piece. The same is true for snap-ins, mobile snap-ins, web snap-ins, right? To help you there. So feel free to use this, share it, and enjoy. I think you'll find that the way that it's laid out will really sort of help you keep track of where you are and where you should be when it comes to your prep for the Service Cloud certification. All right, so let's go. Let's keep going. All right. So we're now going to transition over really into the first introduction, right? So this is really where the learning is going to begin for the Service Cloud certification. This is an overview of customer engagement centers. So like really, modern customer service, or to the extent that there is modern customer service, this is the beginning of that conversation. So, customer engagement centers. There are 4 pillars of great customer service. The first is omni-channel support. The second is agent insight and context. The fourth is service intelligence, the third is service intelligence, and the fourth is empowered agents. Omnichannel success is easily achieved with the Service Cloud. We offer easy integration to most telephony platforms for Screen Pop and Click to Dial with CTI. Other channels are supported natively, meaning that that the Service Cloud can offer a seamless customer experience from an automated chatbot to a self-service community, a public knowledge base, to SMS text, Facebook Messenger, Live Agent, Twitter, email, or even face-to-face on-site support through field service, right? We want that experience for customers to be seamless, and we're providing that functionality through the Service Cloud. Omnichannel support is enhanced with the Service Cloud console, and it provides a complete view of the customer, including not only data that is in Salesforce, but also in third-party systems such as order management or ERP, thanks to our open APIs. Service Cloud implementations have more integrations on average than any other cloud or type of implementation that our partners do for customers. So this is a really key part of an implementation. Service intelligence, what we now call Einstein, helps customers find the best answer on their own and will help agents to identify ideal solutions, optimize support outcomes, and increase upsell and cross-sell effectiveness. And agents who have the right tools to do their jobs are happier and they deliver better service. This leads to better customer outcomes, higher customer satisfaction, and really helps to build brand value. As a project leader for a Service Cloud project, this matrix can help you to map the business value and business impact that is driving the customer investment to the Service Cloud capability that will help you to deliver the benefits. You can also measure ROI and business impact by mapping the implemented capabilities to the business metrics with reports and dashboards. So, for example, if your customer wants to increase customer satisfaction, the business impact of that would be increased customer satisfaction, perhaps reduced cost per call, and shorter call or issue resolution time. If you think of your experience as a customer, the faster things are done, the more, and when things are done correctly the first time, the happier you are. There's a long list of Service Cloud capabilities that can help to enable that. 360-degree view of the customer, universal agent desktop through the Service Cloud console, workflow, integration with third-party systems, etc. And we want to measure those things through metrics like customer satisfaction, a decrease in customer churn or customer losses, improvements in customer self-service. So we would expect to see customers accessing a community or self-service channels more frequently. We would also expect to see a decrease in call handling time or case resolution time, depending on the channel, or if it's an omni-channel, the number of times that a customer has to contact the organization for service and support. And we'd also expect to see a number of call escalations decline as well. So depending on the strategy, fewer calls going to tier 1 or tier 2, or to, supervisor or office of the executive types of customer complaints. Multi-channel or omni-channel contact centers are the norm today, and these channels are constantly expanding. I actually need to go in and do some research to kind of see how many organizations are supporting channels that I don't even have listed here. And it's, kind of difficult to keep up because of the way that the, channels, especially through social media, are expanding. But that being said, the service platform should be capable of supporting the omni-channel strategy. This minimizes deployment and integration costs for our customers, lowers the total cost of ownership or TCO, decreases the time to deploy, and helps to increase adoption. So whenever you add a channel, if you have to kind of converse or use that channel separately from the CRM system, as well as, if the record of the conversation is sitting in that channel and not in the CRM, say for example, I tweet my dissatisfaction to an organization. If that tweet does not become associated to my customer profile, if I call, then the telephony team is probably not going to know about that tweet. And that, we expect as customers for all of these interactions that we have to be known by everyone in the company. So there are different types of contact centers. We're first going to start out by talking about business-to-business contact centers today. Business-to-business call centers or contact centers often have shorter operating hours and are frequently more technical than business-to-customer or business-to-consumer contact centers. B2B customer expectations, though, are changing, in large part because of the type of experiences they have with B2C. So if, it's not easy to get answers, or you have to wait a long time for service and support issues to be resolved, or if it takes a lot of back and forth, what we've learned to expect from the ease and convenience of companies who get it right on the B2C side is certainly changing the expectations of customers on the B2B side. One of the things that I've noticed, and this isn't universally true, is that there may be less reliance on new channels like Live Agent, SMS. There may be more reliance on the kind of quote traditional channels like phone or email. But I've definitely noticed an acceleration in the change over the past 5 or 6 years in particular. And again, driven primarily by the changing expectations of B2B customers based on their B2C experiences. B2C contact centers tend to be bigger. They're often multi-site and high volume, especially if you think of like really large B2C brands. Right, whether that be in sort of like the CPQ space, travel, media, entertainment, those types of things, financial services. The value of individual transactions in B2C contact centers is often smaller, right? They tend to support more channels than B2B contact centers. So if you think about this, this is all saying they're more complex, they're more difficult. Volume is often driven by marketing in B2C. Customer retention, brand advocacy, and or sales are often key business drivers. And it's often common for consumer B2C contact centers to not even really know who their customers are, because you buy a product to a retailer or a third party, and you only reach out to the company when there's a problem with that product. So, these types of challenges are unique to the B2C space, and you should be aware of those and, help customers understand, how you can help them to solve issues related to that as a consultant, especially a Service Cloud consultant. Some of the key differences between B2B and B2C contact centers are the value and complexity of individual interactions, as I mentioned before, as well as, business drivers. In B2B, they tend to be very process heavy. They may be very complex but low volume. There's often a one-to-one agent-to-customer relationship. There may be an account manager or an account customer support person who is sort of the primary contact for a business or an organization, but with backup because they will sometimes be out of the office. There's often a longer case resolution time, again, because of the complexity of the types of issues that they're handling. If you contrast that to the B2C space, right, where the business drivers are really about case deflection, we want customers to solve issues for themselves as quickly as possible. They may be less complex, but there will be more volume. There's often a one-to-many agent-to-customer relationship. There may be, you call into a modern-day contact center. It's very unusual for you to get the same person twice because they may have hundreds or thousands of agents answering the phone or other channels. And there's a high preference for one-and-done resolution. So solve the problem, ensure the customer is happy, and then move on. As I mentioned before, channels on the B2B side tend to be more traditional, or at least the volume tends to rely more on phone, email, and web. But as I said, I think this is changing. In the B2C space, the traditional channels are still present. I mean, phone is still, for most organizations, the predominant channel. But, they're open to adopting new channels as they try to kind of like differentiate themselves from the competition, take advantage of channels that are kind of becoming available through technology and through the prevalence of smartphones, mobile apps, and the like. There's often a difference in agent staffing. So when you're working on a Service Cloud project, you'll often find that in the B2B space that the hours of operation are somewhat constrained. They might be, local business hours, from 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And, so customers from around the world, will be calling in, to this sort of small window. And, or, they may just, be a more regional company and not really, have to be concerned, right? But that's something that you do need to kind of like take into consideration. In the B2C space, in part because of the volume and in part because of the way that, B2C organizations want to be seen as available for customers, you see very often 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week contact center operations. They follow the sun. So they tend to have, they often have contact centers placed around the globe so that they're able to sort of offer continuous service and support. They're often concurrent users. You'll have different people from different locations working to solve the customer issue. And there's frequently, greater seasonality in the B2C space, right? So if you think about retail, e-commerce, around the holidays, there'll be a spike in volume. There may be spikes in volume if you're in the travel and entertainment industry around, summer holidays and the like. And you can see some of the solutions, right? Some of the Salesforce functionality that we've mapped up to these. This is not an exclusive list, but it's just really there to stimulate your thought as you sort of think about which channels should you deploy or help customers think about deploying to solve their customer service channels as you're engaging with them. Contact centers can also be summarized by how contact is made, right? So if you think about this, there may be three types. So the self-service model, maybe more, you might think of it as a no contact or a low contact via self-service. And the idea here is that you want to have as much volume as possible directed through websites, communities, or mobile applications. So if you think about service interactions that you might have had with organizations like Amazon, PayPal, or other high volume consumer brands, right, it's very seldom that you actually speak to a person, right? They have processes in place that are really sort of meant to help you answer questions and to get resolution to those, say, returning a product without having to speak to anyone. It's worth remembering, right, that consumers actually prefer self-service, right? So if you think about this, how often have you tried Google or YouTube to fix something before contacting a company for support, right? You know, like to fix your washing machine or your dishwasher or something else, right? If you can find a way to do it via YouTube that solves your issue, you're going to be much happier. So making that sort of content available to customers is a key part of this no contact or low contact self-service model. Inbound contact centers tend to rely on the phone for support. The live agent is Salesforce's fastest growing channel. These issues tend to be more complex. They often require specific knowledge, or there is a trust component. So think about travel, financial services, healthcare, or even like, when was the last time you called a company for customer service? What type of company was that? What type of issue did you have? And that will perhaps help to illustrate the difference between a self-service oriented company and an inbound contact center. Then there's the outbound channel. Outbound contact centers have traditionally tended to be like telemarketing or telesales or collections oriented. However, regulations, higher regulation of these businesses, customer behavior and costs are really driving a lot of these companies to develop other channels, but they're still there. For example, I got a call from my bank last week because there was a suspicious transaction on my credit card, right? So that was done from an outbound contact center. But, you know, this is a really big bank in Germany. They have they have web self-service, they have inbound, but they also need, a solution that is, you know, configured for outbound, customer care, and interaction. All right. There are different types of agents, right, that support customer service. The call center provides support via phone as well as email, web, instant message, social media, etc. And agents will respond to these channels through different sort of roles within the organization. I would say, based on my experience, that business to consumer B2C contact centers often do not have formal tier 1 or tier 3 teams. So if you think about what happens when you ask to speak to an expert or to escalate an issue, you might get a supervisor or special customer response team, but really only if you pursue it. You know, there's a focus on really sort of like having the agent who answers the phone to be able to answer and resolve that call. Doesn't always work, and it's something that companies often struggle with in terms of volume, as well as being able to measure and track any of these sort of like customer escalations. It's very challenging, but it's easier to do with a good Service Cloud implementation. B2B or contact centers that support complex products and services often have clearly defined multi-tier support. I've seen this a lot, particularly with high-tech manufacturing, software, technology organizations that sell B2B. This sort of multi-tier organization helps to manage cost, and because tier 2 and tier 3 agents are often more expensive than tier 1. So you don't want them necessarily, you know, spending a lot of time on lower value calls. So it helps them to manage costs, and it's often tied to service level agreements, service contracts, or entitlements. So, if there's a service contract that says, we'll, respond to and keep you within a few hours, and then promise to have a workaround and a resolution, solved within 24, 48, 72 hours, something like that. The multi-tier support system really sort of helps to ensure that the issue is escalated as quickly as possible to a person who can take ownership for resolving it. And usually, the more complex or the more challenging the issue, then that's what drives the escalation. Other variations on contact centers that may influence your implementation strategy and architecture. So internal contact centers. So think about human resources or IT help desks. There's been a growing trend within our customers, and I think across the different industries, for large organizations to consolidate employee service and support. And again, this is driven in large part by the expectations that are set by successful B2C organizations. If you're an employee for a company, it's very frustrating when you don't know where to go to get answers resolved. So maybe you need a new mobile device, and you would think that you need to contact the IT help desk for that. But maybe there's a manager approval process or some sort of role hierarchy that needs to come into play. And so getting reliable answers and getting resolution quickly, especially when this impacts things like job satisfaction and productivity, have driven a lot of companies to try to consolidate into shared service organizations this role of employee help desk. So we've seen companies consolidate human resources, IT, and other things into one organization, with the goal being to reduce cost, to improve compliance, and sort of enforce company policies more effectively. Telesales and telemarketing, I kind of touched on this a little bit with outbound, but, telesales and telemarketing is still kind of unique. It's typically a profit center for an organization. They tend to be very large operations, maybe even frequently outsourced. There's often a high volume with the need to support large data volumes and the ability to go up and down in terms of staffing size really, really quickly. This is where a cloud solution like the Service Cloud can be very, very helpful and useful. Where all that you need in order to sort of expand is a reliable internet connection and a modern browser. These organizations often use something to help them dial phone numbers faster. There's an increasing number of restrictions on these, at least in terms of trying to minimize the negative impacts on consumers. But these are called predictive dialers or power dialers. It's basically a computerized system that automatically dials batches of phone numbers in advance, and then connects the answered calls to an agent, so that the agent doesn't have to, manually dial the number themselves, wait for a ring, and then wait for an answer. We often ignore phone calls from numbers we don't recognize, and if agents have to go through a long list of phone numbers and they're not getting many answers, then that's really sort of lost productivity. So these dialing systems sort of help to work around that. There are, as I mentioned before, limitations on how they are used or can be used. So you depend on your customer to help you work through that. Seasonality is another thing that you often need to think through. Supporting organizations through high volume seasons. There's frequently seasonality associated with holiday shopping, travel. There may be certain times of the year, enrollment periods for certain products like health insurance, that can drive a lot of seasonality. And so being able to provide a flexible solution that allows organizations to expand and contract easily and to minimize onboarding time for seasonal employees can be very helpful and useful. And you'll find that the Service Cloud is uniquely capable of helping with that. So the other thing that you'll want to consider as you're working with Salesforce customers to deploy the Service Cloud is how you can help them align their customers' goals to their agents' goals. So you want to help your customers develop new strategies and processes that can take advantage of the functionality available via the Salesforce platform and the Service Cloud. You don't want to simply replicate existing processes from outdated technology that will not deliver the business benefit that the organizations need in order to be competitive in today's market. I sometimes refer to this as putting electric windows on an antique car. I mean, a lot of times you're involved in a replacement project, right? You're replacing maybe a homegrown CRM tool or bundle of tools and applications, or maybe a platform that's no longer being supported, and the company is really looking to modernize. But if you're just replicating, like lifting and dropping old processes into new technology, you're really going to limit your customers' ability to take full advantage of their investment and of your work. So work with customers to make sure that they are really sort of aligning to business value and redesigning processes and using the functionality that's available to really sort of change the way that they do business and improve the way that they're delivering service to their customers. There are some videos here that you can, in these links that you can access through this deck in the partner community. If you want some more information on, customer engagement through the Service Cloud and the Contact Center Engagement Manager, ways to, staff a contact center, this is a great place to go. You'll need to download these videos from the partner community. So if you don't have your partner community login, you should get that resolved as quickly as possible in order to be able to access the core content, the webinar recording, as well as the decks, but then any of the sort of supplementary content. All right, so thank you. That's the end of today's webinar. As I mentioned before, within a few hours, I'll have the webinar recording converted and uploaded, and links in the partner community updated so that you can access this information on your own. And thank you for your attendance today, and I look forward to talking with you again next week. Have a great weekend, and happy studying as you begin your Service Cloud certification exam. Thank you.